welcome to our continued coverage of the 14 Riverside attack. And this is a developing story, so we're still getting information as it comes. And it has been at least 18 hours since the attack yesterday. And there is a lot developing. There is a lot of good news, but there is still a lot of many unknowns. My name is Masai. Thank you for joining us. I'm
Smriti Vidyarthi. We'll bring you everything that you need to know as and when we get the latest. But what we can tell you, let's start with the good news that Mark mentioned. There have been plenty of people who have been rescued overnight from the vicinity. That is number 14 Riverside Drive, that was under attack yesterday from about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We do know that blasts were heard and gunshots rented the air. The government has said that this has been a terror attack. The bad news is that there have been fatalities. We are still unable to confirm the number of those dead. We are unable to confirm the number of those who have been injured. But as I say, we will get you the details as and when they come through. For now, though, let's cross over live to the location. That is number 14 Riverside Drive. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi is reporting live from the ground. Kennedy, at this moment, what can you tell us? What's happening at the location?
Well, Smriti, we can still hear some gunshots and some explosions coming from the 14 Riverside as police try to contain the situation that has been on since yesterday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And what we can confirm right now is that there are still officers from the different security agencies that are still coming in as they're trying to relieve some who have been there since yesterday. But the gunshots which we are hearing, according to some police officers who are talking to us, is that it is the ongoing operation whereby they're still trying to flush out the assailants who came in yesterday. We cannot independently confirm whether it was they were from the Al-Shabaab or any other thing, because there are claims that they might have owned up to what happened, but we cannot independently confirm whether it is the right kind of information. But right now, police officers, even from the most elite of squads here in the country, are inside. They are trying to contain this situation. It had been an hour since we had other gunshots or any explosions, but right now, as we are speaking to you, I can hear some gunshots and explosions at the back as police try to contain what is otherwise one of the attacks that the country has witnessed in recent times. The last one that we saw was in 2013, and also the Garissa attack, where students also in the Garissa University were affected. And right now, a police officer, one of the security agencies, is trying to just make sure that we move from where we are, because we are on the road. And security officers, as I had told you, Smriti, and most Kenyans who are watching us, is that it is a delicate affair, and the security officers are trying to seize the situation and contain it as much as possible. And as I have told you, most of the people that we have seen come in are from the General Service Unit, and those are some of the ones that are coming in here, as others are going out for another duty. We've also been able to see some people that have been evacuated, at least 2 people who have just come out from that particular area. And there's a lady who came in a sport Range Rover, and she was telling the officers, from what I heard from my ears, is that she said that what I could not independently confirm is whether she owns the whole of the complex or she owns part of the businesses that are at this 14 Riverside complex. So it is not something that we could confirm, but she's taken one lady who looked very traumatized, put her in her vehicle, and she went out with her. That is what we could say at this particular point. But we've also seen some vehicles belonging to hospitals, and also the ambulances that have been asked to move away from the complex itself, that is the parking valet, and they've come out. And that is information that we're getting right now, but information is still very scanty on what is the status of the operation as is right now. But we could also confirm, from what I have also learned from a security officer who is also my friend, is that they are containing the situation right now, and they will be giving us information. We do not know, because those gunshots are still renting the air. We do not know whether it is an exchange of fire. We do not know whether it is the police who are also trying to gain access to some of the areas where they do believe that the assailants may still be there. But also, we've had a loud bang right now. I do not know whether you've been able to hear it when they're in studio, but there's a loud bang that has just been there, and we can see some people are running, and most people are now moving away from this area We do not know what is happening, but the ambulances have, it's like the ambulances have been called inside again, and they are just making turns to go inside the complex. We do not know what is happening. We cannot independently tell you, but they are scrambling. All of them from most companies. That is the St. John's ambulance. There's another one here, emergency. They are trying. There's another one, Bliss. They are trying to gain access into the complex. We do not know what is happening at this particular point, but we can confirm to you that they have just been asked to go in as soon as possible. We do not know what is the nature of it. We still do not know whether there are still some other Kenyans or other foreigners who are within the complex, but we can just see all the ambulances rushing there. This is a minute after we had a loud explosion that has just occurred here, and we are outside several meters. We are almost 500 meters from where the main gate of the complex is, and you can see that is Red Cross, and they're trying to rush inside there. It's a controlled affair. The St. John's ambulance guys are still all going there. This is Avenue Rescue, and all of them are trying to access that particular area. There's a vehicle coming in, one from the most elite of the squads that are here, and we do not know what is really happening. And what you can see from what my camera person Paul Basweti is showing you is that there is a lot of activity, and there's a probability that also where we are right now, because we are standing on the road, we might be asked to move away. We've also seen an elite squad from the General Service Unit, and we do not know who is being evacuated at this particular point, but it seems a bit serious as of now, considering or judging from the kind of activity that we are seeing at this particular area. Ambulances are being called in, and other people are being told to make sure that the road, and what you can see on my camera, what you can see on the camera is that those are vehicles from the most elite of squads. These vehicles just came in, and they are being told nobody is being asked anything, but you can see there is so much activity and people are being rushed. There's so much rushing. We would want to know what is going on, and I will just let this roll as you watch what my camera person is saying. I can see officers, and one of them has blood in their hands. We do not know what is going on, but I'll just let it go. I'll just let you see what is going on. And I will tell you, it does not look so good right now. Smriti, does not look so good right now. What we are able to see from this particular point, it does not look so good, and we will want to get information, but I know it's still going to be very scanty. Well, we can see from this side. It does not look so good. It does not. One of the officers the media is being asked to move away. It does not look so good.
Come down, give way.
We'll be having other vehicles coming out. Out! Clear the way! Clear! Get the place cleared out! Officers! Clear the way! Clear the way! You're changing! We want the way cleared, please! Clear the way!
Well, it's unfortunate enough that one of the officers seems to have been hit, and they are trying to control even the media here, but we do expect that he will be well. And we are being told to evacuate because we do expect that there are other vehicles that will be coming in, other ambulances that will be coming out, probably trying to get other people out and evacuate them, taking to hospital. But we do hope that he is going to be okay. And police are really asking also us to be very vigilant and also not block the road as is happening. That is what the information we are getting right now. One of the officers, probably from the elite squad, has actually been evacuated and taken to hospital as one of the casualties, but we will be giving you information. And a few minutes ago, just before he was gotten out of that particular place, we had a loud bang. But it seems that the police are actually, and the squads that we are having here are taking care and are in charge of the situation as is right now. Smriti, that is what is happening. There is so much activity. There is police officers, that is from the regular police, who are maintaining and making sure that the roads at this particular point are very clear in case of an emergency, as this has happened a while ago. And also the paramedics are on standby just for any eventuality. We have seen something happen. A police officer from the elite squad has just been evacuated, and that is the information we are getting right now. Everything is scanty, everything is coming out, but we do know that they are in charge and they are calling on us to move away from where we are at this particular point. Smriti, I'll just let my camera person Paul Basweti show what is happening as is happening and as they are calling upon us to get out of this place. There is heavy police presence and they do not want us here at all. And we are being asked to clear. We are being asked to clear from that area.
All right, Kennedy Muredi coming to us live from number 14 Riverside Drive. Thanks very much for that update.
Yes, and of course, him and Paul Basweti would need to clear the area. As you see, it is quite active right now, even though there was some indication that the operation had been brought to a seeming close earlier on. But as he has said, and as you've witnessed there with the live pictures coming to you from that area, which is being described as a crime scene, and you are advised, the public is advised to stay away from that area because there's a lot of operations, and as you can expect and as you've seen, a lot of rescue operations, as well as the people who are still in there, many of the security forces from different units, as well as you can imagine some people who might still be trapped within the Dusit Hotel, though we do have the numbers of those who have been rescued so far, and that is up about 170 people, and that is the good side of this. But the numbers that are not out and not confirmed are those of the casualties and, if any, the fatalities, which have been confirmed by some quarters. And just to remind you, the National Police Service has said that people should stay out of the Dusit Hotel area around 14 Riverside Drive in the crime scene, which is a crime scene that is under an active security operation. And until it is declared safe, everyone not actively involved in the operation should avoid the area. Of course, our team is actively involved in this and making sure that they cover but not hinder any of the rescue efforts there.
As you can see, police are urging and requesting the media to move away. Clearly, some activity, as Kennedy said, some drama did take place there. It's not quite clear what happened, but it did seem as if a police officer was being taken into an ambulance. But once Kennedy Muredi on the ground gets the verified information, he will no doubt share that with us. All right, so what we know at this point is that a number of people have been rescued. Currently, that number stands at 174 people. This still is a very active security operation. The area is still cordoned off. There is an appeal for blood. It can be donated at Avenue Hospital in Parklands, Aga Khan Hospital in Parklands, and also MP Shah Hospital in Parklands. So if you are able to donate blood, do make your way to those hospitals. There's also a blood drive taking place along Moy Avenue at the Memorial Park. It's being coordinated by the Ministry of Health and being supported by the Kenya Red Cross. So if you feel helpless, which many people do in a situation like this, the way you can help is to go and donate blood.
That is right. I see Kennedy Moredi just preparing perhaps to give us an update from there. We were expecting some word from those who have been at the scene since this broke, that is 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, in terms of helping the operations there, the rescue operations, that is such as organizations such as the Red Cross, just to give us what they know in terms of what they've managed to gather and who they've managed to rescue, and the situation for those who have been injured and where they've been taken. And as just what Smriti has said, they would be echoing as well the support of the public in a safe area. And yes, they have alerted us that there are several hospitals, and we'll keep repeating that, several hospitals where you can go and donate the blood. And Moredi, Kennedy report on the ground with Paul Basweti. They have an update right now. Moredi, over to you.
Well, Mark, as you have seen there on the shots that we were showing you, it's 18 hours since the siege, that is from yesterday at 3 o'clock, and police are really trying to contain the situation, as you have seen, and they have been able to push media far, far away from where they can actually access. We had taken over even some of the places whereby everybody is trying to get the best shots, because that is what media is all about. But we have been asked also to stay away so that every information that we also do get, and the last time we had gunshots, we saw an officer being evacuated. But what we have also seen, because I have seen him myself, is that he might have been hurt on the leg and not so much, and probably that's why he has been rushed to the hospital to get first aid. But also, some of them are telling us that they are really trying to contain the situation inside there. But what we have seen is that it really shows that the battle is still on. And as many are coming, we have also seen the elite officers, the GSU officers, are really trying to gain access into this particular point so that they can help. There are others who are inside there. But one of them has actually told me that the assailants are locked at one particular point, and what they are really trying to do right now is just to access that particular point. What also our officers want to be very careful about is that there might be booby traps that have been placed in specific areas. Just as they try to access them, then probably you could hear some explosions, and they are really trying to be very careful in also trying to get to where the assailants are, and also trying to rescue and make sure that the situation as is does not get even worse than it is right now. Yes, they are telling us they are containing the situation, and some of this information cannot be given on camera because some of these officers are not authorized to speak on camera, but they're telling us that they are really trying to contain the situation, but they also have to make sure that their safety comes first, as these booby traps that have been placed on the road or where these assailants are might also cost them their lives. But the siege goes on 18 hours later, but the police say and the officers say that they have it under control. Yesterday we also saw the CS for internal security, that is Fred Matiang'i, said that they have been able to secure the building, and most of the people, including our journalists, were rescued from this particular point. But if and when we get more information, we'll be able to relay it to you. But right now we have seen an officer has been hurt, and he has been evacuated by one of the ambulances and taken for further treatment. But we do also understand that the officers have to be very careful as they do this operation, so that they have as minimal casualties as possible. That is what we have right now. Mark and Smriti, back to you in studio.
All right, Kennedy Moredi, thanks very much. We'll hear more from you later. Just, Mark, going back to my point about the blood drive, I did mention that you can make your way to various hospitals, that is the MP Shah Hospital, Avenue Hospital and Aga Khan Hospital here in Nairobi. And also the Ministry of Health has launched a blood drive, and that is at the Bomb Blast Memorial site here in Nairobi. But according to the Kenya Kenya Red Cross Twitter handle. If you're in towns such as Mombasa and Kisumu, you too can also donate blood that will then be sent over here to Nairobi. And a blood appeal is being made to the public in Mombasa. They are being urged, or residents there are being urged, to go and donate blood to support victims of this attack. They can go to Moi Avenue opposite the University of Nairobi Mombasa branch. And if you are in Kisumu, you can make your way to the Blood Transfusion Center next to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. So you may not be in Nairobi, but this is how you can help.
And that's right. You don't have to access the particular scene of crime to help in any other way, because there's a lot of people giving a hand as best they can, professionals for that matter. But you can help from where you are with the locations that have been announced, and we'll keep repeating that just to get as much help as possible. As of last night, we had at least 10 people who had been admitted, but the numbers have increased in terms of the casualties and those who are receiving treatment. Unfortunately, there was one who had succumbed to her injuries last night. What we had announced and at least confirmed, and was confirmed by the medical staff at one of the hospitals. The active ones, especially those that are close by, have been the Avenue Hospital and as well as the Aga Khan Hospital that has really been active, as well as the Kenyatta National Hospital, which has been receiving the casualties and giving treatment, and MP Shah as well. And that the medical staff actually had been called back as of last night to have all hands on deck to support the whole team in helping as much as they can. You can help if indeed you're close by any one of those venues that are collecting or taking blood from the public to help those who are getting treatment. And many are asking, Smriti, as of last night, 8 p.m., the Interior Cabinet Secretary did come out to make an announcement that they had taken control of at least actually all the buildings. It secured all the buildings that had been affected by these events. And some might be asking, why are there then reports that the explosions, latest being this one that was captured there by our team by 9:25 a.m. actually, and earlier at 6 a.m. Some of them, as we witnessed as well, have been detonated and controlled explosions, as the one that we witnessed yesterday in the evening, because they would be detonating some of the explosives and what has been announced there as booby traps by those assailants who had accessed this complex.
That's right, Mark. And as we said, it is still a very active situation there at number 14 Riverside Drive. What we don't know is how many people are still trapped in the vicinity. We do know that about 174 people have been rescued, but the number of those still inside is unclear. The number of assailants or suspects, terrorists, is also unclear. It stands between 4 to 6 people. We are still waiting for that information. We are expecting to hear from the government and security agencies at some point this morning for another update. We are also expecting to hear from the Secretary General Abbas Gulet from the Kenya Red Cross for an update on their end as well. We haven't yet heard about the extent of some of the injuries. We do know that there have been a number of fatalities, but again, we cannot verify how many. So these are the burning questions that many people are asking at this point. How many survivors are there? How many people have perished? And how many terrorists were there? These are answers we cannot give you, but we will as and when we get the information.
And it hits close home. Actually, we have people we know that were trapped. Thankfully, our colleagues were released, but were rescued at around 4 a.m. this morning, and that is Silas Apollo and our very own Mr. Onyango. And he is, of course, right now they are getting some. They have gotten some form of counseling and treatment, traumatic treatment. Of course, they are still in shock as to what has happened, the ordeal that they have been under. That is Dixon Onyango and Silas Apollo. But you may know someone who probably works there, and you probably haven't heard about their whereabouts and are still looking. We were frantically trying to find out as securely as possible their well-being and their whereabouts. And some of them had been, hiding in a toilet. And this was the account of Silas Apollo. Well, the Red Cross has said that there are some numbers that you can use to be able to trace perhaps if you had a loved one, someone that you know that works there or had been there for one reason or other, because as we mentioned earlier, excuse me, there are restaurants there, there are offices, people had been going for different engagements in that area at 14 Riverside Drive, and Kenya Red Cross is giving this number. Please use it to perhaps be able to track your loved ones. And this number is the one for families searching for the loved ones who are urged to call, or their tracing line on 0715 820 219. That is 0715 820 219. And also you can have a call counseling services, that is dial 1199. You may know people who have been directly affected. Perhaps they made it away and they didn't go to get help at first, but they were glad to be out of danger and went straight home, but they're still understandably shaken by this ordeal. So you can still call or dial 1199 for counseling and support. Those are the numbers that are being given out there by the Kenya Red Cross. Don't take just any other number that you see. We had the experience of a fake number being put out there if you wanted to track someone, but the National Police at least gave a credible number to use, and that is the head of the flying squad at that time when it was quite active. But the situation still continues, and a lot of help are still on the scene.
Certainly, it has been a long night, afternoon and night and morning for many, and what you can see on your screen at the moment is various officials, police officers as well, having some breakfast. We do believe that there are some well-wishers who are out there providing tea and breakfast to all those involved in this operation. They need as much energy as they can get, because this is no doubt an extremely difficult time and a lot of energy is used. It's emotional, mentally and physically draining for them all.
As well as on the scene, there are people who have been, at least the last batch of people who were rescued would immediately get some help in terms of some counseling and just checking that they're not injured physically, but definitely the psychological trauma that they have gone through just being in that vicinity or within that the confines of that building, with uncertainty, not knowing what was going to happen. Even being rescued still would be a traumatic experience, as you would imagine. The police officers and the security officers who are making their way as well, not sure what they would encounter, and definitely the encounter with those who are being rescued must be very tragic in terms of you know, the scared part of it. But for those who have made it away and you still need some help, please make sure that you get in touch with some of the institutions that are helping people, because you might not be physically injured or harmed, but there are people who are ready to help you get some counseling.
What you're seeing on your screen is a picture of State House. That is live footage coming to us. We are expecting an address from State House at some point this morning. When that happens, we will bring it to you live. As I mentioned, we're expecting to hear from the government security personnel and also from the Kenya Red Cross Secretary General. We are covering this event for you and have been since yesterday afternoon from the key locations. As you saw, Kennedy Mureithi is live on Riverside Drive. NTV's Charity Mwangi is currently at the Chiromo mortuary. We will be crossing over to her to get a sense of what's happening there and to get some figures as well. Yeah. And we have various reporters elsewhere following the story from all different angles. Remember, we want to know where the suspects came from, where they were planning this attack, who the masterminds were, and also several questions will arise about how prepared the country really was for this attack, who had any intelligence, if at all, and what information did they have. And the pictures on your screens now is from the Chiromo mortuary. Some disturbing pictures coming your way of families grieving in shock, extremely sad, as they hit the mortuary to look and perhaps even find their loved ones. Mark, truly disturbing images.
Yes, as you can see there, there are staff on standby to help those who are, you know, being met with the news perhaps as they go to get confirmations. confirmation, beg your pardon, of those who perhaps were caught up in this attack. And yes, the pictures speak for themselves. It is a sad picture there of the families, and they will be getting as much support as possible, even as they identify their loved ones, whether relatives or friends who had been working or had been in the complex, the 14 Riverside complex, where there are offices and as well as hotels from different institutions, international institutions represented within that particular place. And Charity Mwangi will be giving us some stand there in terms of those who are taking charge of the situation and receiving the family members, perhaps even from the Red Cross, as of course it is respectable just to give space to those who are grieving and would not be keen to talk and give their confirmations, but just to help support, give support to these people. There are many who are at hand to do the same. On the other side of your screen, on the split screen there, you can see that people have been waiting for word from State House and to hear what the Commander-in-Chief has to say. And as of last night, the Interior Minister, that is Fred Matiang'i, he said in his statement at around 8:05 p.m. that I've continually and regularly updated His Excellency the President on all aspects of this operation, and he remains fully seized of the situation. Many people at this point would like to see word from the authorities, and commendably, in one way or another, there was quick response just to clear the air of all the conspiracies that were out there. The Inspector General gave at least a couple of updates in terms of what they were doing, and then the Cabinet Secretary, he gave one update last evening, and now everyone wants to hear from the Commander-in-Chief, that is the President Uhuru Kenyatta, just to give us some direction and sense of confirmation of what we know and where we are in this operation. As Kennedy Mureithi said, it is still active on the ground.
Yes, and Mark, just an update via WhatsApp from Kennedy at 9:51 is that gunshots are still renting the air. He is covering this story live from the location, that is number 14 Riverside Drive. We are aware that gunshots were heard at around 6 a.m. this morning, and then again at around 9:20, 9:25 this morning, and in between. And just now, Kennedy says that gunshots are still renting the air. We are not certain as to whether these gunshots are part of a controlled procedure or whether there is indeed fire between the assailants and also the rescue operators. We will get the details as and when we can, but what we do know right now is that the Chiroma mortuary has been filling up this morning and also overnight as well, with desperate family members arriving at the mortuary, either hoping to find loved ones or hoping that they will not find them and instead they are alive and safe somewhere else. A truly difficult and emotional scenes on your screens at the moment. A really hard time, Mark, for Kenya. It is a new year, and the festive period was clear of any such attacks. But this has hit us in a big and bad way, clearly caught our security agencies off guard and the nation as well. Yeah. And as I said, later on, those hard questions will be asked. How did we get to this stage?
The Inspector General yesterday in his last address, he seemed confident that over the festive season they were vigilant and were on standby for any security threats. And there is a lot of word going out there that there was some intelligence going around in terms of the target and the intention of those who were behind it. And initially they were cagey to reveal whether or confirm that this was a terrorist attack, but increasingly they have pointed to that. And yes, there have been some outfits or militant groups that have claimed this responsibility for this attack at the 14 Riverside Drive. And as you can expect, the government will try to control as much as they can the information that's going out there. But in the absence of the confirmations, then that gives way to the conspiracies. But that's why we're on the ground talking to some people who can give us independent information. And some of it is actually out there in terms of pursuing those who may have been behind this and those who may have known it. And we are following leads, especially when it comes to some of the information. Yesterday, the young man who gave an account to one of the international media houses, I believe it's even BBC, said that he had identified one of the cars that was at the scene. And he said that it wasn't the first time that he'd seen it. He'd probably seen it 3 days before. And perhaps this informs us that there had been some surveillance of sorts of people, those who were behind this attack, having surveyed the area just to see the movements and the motions within that place. And we have been following leads as to what we can in terms of pursuing those who were behind this and finding the identity of those who probably owned the vehicles.
All right, Mark, let's take our viewers back to the Chiromo mortuary now, where we can join NTV's Charity Mwangi. Charity, we have been witnessing some very upsetting and disturbing scenes on our screens. Paint a picture of the situation.
Yes, Smriti, we are here at the Chiromo mortuary, and it's quite an emotional moment for Kenya, and more so for the family and friends of people who are suspected to have been caught up in the incident that took place yesterday. We have seen Kenya Red Cross personnel reach here because earlier we did not have support because some of the family members were just being helped by members of the public. The information that we are receiving right now is that the number of people who've been brought here are at least 15 people. Yesterday the number was 8, but now the number has gone up to 15. These numbers are not yet to be confirmed by official members of this establishment, but we expect some sort of information coming through, and the official numbers being shared with the people gathered here. We have seen vehicles that are expected to take members of families of people who confess the Muslim faith. They are saying that they really need to have their people brought out and processed quickly so that they can give them a befitting send-off. It is quite an emotional time here. We have not yet been able to speak to some of the family members owing to the kind of state that they are in. Members of the public are being ushered into the reception area where the information is collected, because most of them are not sure whether their people are inside or whether they are in hospital. And so it's such a confusing, a very emotional time here. Smriti.
All right, Charity Mwangi coming to us live from the Chiromo mortuary. Thanks very much for that update. Charity says that there are at least 15 bodies at the mortuary in relation to this terror attack, but that figure has not been confirmed by mortuary attendants. And also the families of Muslim faith are requesting any bodies of their families to be released so that they can give them an appropriate send-off.
I don't know if she could still hear us and give us an update as to what people should expect if indeed they go to Chiromo mortuary, but I'm told that we will be talking to her later. But she did mention earlier that there is a registration process that is at hand to take charge of those who arrive there in pursuit of those who might have been at the complex while the attack was on and have probably not seen or heard of the whereabouts of their family members. And just to repeat this, in case you are one of them and are still looking and would want to be able to access or find information, the numbers that are out there, at least by the organizations that are helping and are doing so in a professional manner, Kenya Red Cross, and they say the number to use to track or trace their loved ones is 0715 820-219. And perhaps if you or anyone close to you made it out of that place in last evening, sometime yesterday in the afternoon, in the initial stages of the attack, and you know someone who is in need of counseling, you can dial 1199 and get immediate help to deal with the traumatic experience that you may have encountered or your loved one did.
All right, you can get more information from our @NTV Kenya Twitter handle. Do also follow us at Smriti Vidyarthi and at Mark Masai. Share any information that you might have with us, or if you were a witness to any of the events, do share with us. You can also follow the National Police Service Twitter handle, that is at NPS_official_KE. At NPS_official_KE, that is the National Police Service. The Kenya Red Cross Twitter handle with a lot of useful information at Kenya Red Cross, that is at Kenya Red Cross. And remember, there are blood drives taking place across the country. And also you can follow the Ministry of Interior's Twitter handle, that is at Interior KE. There are updates coming from those various Twitter handles, not all that frequently, but whatever does come your way now and then is rather useful.
That's right, and one of the latest is just to advise people to stay away from that area, understandably give space to those who are helping in this professionally in the rescue efforts to just be at a safe distance, as well as this being an area that is an active crime scene. And as late as, or as recent as maybe 30 minutes ago, there was still a report from our reporter Kennedy Moredi of gunshots there. And whether this is a means to prompt those who are still within this particular Dusit D2 hotel, or whether this was an exchange between the assailants and the security officials, we cannot confirm, of course, but it is a main reason to stay away from that area. And those who actually have lived or live around there said that as in the early morning they could hear some explosions still going off in the early morning.
That's right, and those explosions continued throughout the morning at around 10 o'clock, or rather, I beg your pardon, just a few moments ago. It's not yet hit 10 o'clock, but our reporter Kennedy Moredi reported some sounds of gunshots. Just to give you a picture of where Riverside Drive is and what it's like, Riverside Drive comes off Waiyaki Way. It is somewhat opposite the Kempinski Hotel, that is the big pink building along the highway. As you drive along Riverside Drive, you will come across some ambassadors' residences, some embassies as well, and then on the right there is a city clock, and there is a turning into the Dusit D2 Hotel. As you turn into that road, there are two security barriers which you need to get through in order to access the vicinity. Now, the vicinity hosts the Dusit D2 Hotel, which is an upmarket fancy hotel, in addition to the Grosvenor building, which houses various offices. There is also a bank there, that is I&M Bank, and various restaurants, including a restaurant called the Secret Garden, which is where the terrorists are believed to have struck, and also where there have been fatalities. The information that we had was that the terrorists made their way through the main security entrance and attacked the security guards, and that is how they eventually made their way in. They then blasted some vehicles in the parking lot before then entering the hotel and also the Secret Garden restaurant, where it is believed that a suicide bomber blew himself up there. But all this information yet to be cleared and verified by government officials. So far, what we have heard from the security as of last night, Mark, was that the country is safe. That is what our Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, had to say. But clearly, many families and many people still feeling very unsafe because this situation has not completely been neutralized. It is now just gone past 10 o'clock, which means it's been 19 hours or thereabouts since this terror attack started and since the rescue and recovery operation began. We are uncertain as to how much longer it will take, because at this point we still do not know what is happening exactly inside the vicinity. The public has heard gunshots and explosions, but we don't have any verified information coming out.
Yes, and there has been a lot of responses, even from the international community, and the security officials are actually appreciating, even Matiang'i in his latest address, that was last night, appreciating the support, the combined support that Kenya has received from its partners and friends on the international, from the international community in terms of security response. There has been some commendation given to the response then last evening to this security breach, and yes, this can be explained by the presence of a lot of consulates and international institutions that are heavily guarded, and the response was quite swift in terms of previous experiences that we have had in terms of attacks, and in terms of the international community giving comfort. The US, the UN have condemned this attack, and the American Embassy in Nairobi has offered to assist Kenyan authorities to flush out assailants. And in some of the clips that we have shown and some of the pictures that you have seen the various units, security units and elite security forces who have been receiving support from international forces as well, who have been on standby within that area and have been in response within that area in a swift manner. And there seemed to be better coordination in terms of this response and not overlapping of forces, and that is why perhaps they were able to gain access there. And we can see some activity, perhaps, yes, we can wait a bit longer from the State House to get an address, a formal address from the Commander-in-Chief, I would imagine, who will be flanked by the various ministers and ministries that are involved, that is Defense and the Ministry of Interior, to give their word and the latest confirmation of what Kenyans should know in terms of the control and seizure of the situation.
That's right. Now, of course, the burning questions really are how many people have died, how many injuries are there, how many people exactly have been rescued, although the figure that we've been given is at about 170, but it's varying between 173 and 174. And also how many people are still trapped inside and really what is happening inside. But there is no official information on a number of things, as we mentioned, and when we get that information, we will bring it to you. So here is what you don't know. Mark will bring you the information in just a moment, but what we do know is that this is still an active situation. A number of people have indeed been rescued, and the area is still cordoned off. There is still plenty of activity taking place on the ground. We see ambulances, we see the Red Cross emergency services, we see police, we see the media as well, plainclothed police as well, and also family members who are milling around, still hopeful to find their loved ones. As we mentioned earlier, there is an appeal for blood. You can donate blood at Avenue Hospital in Parklands, at the Aga Khan Hospital and the MP Shah Hospital, also in Parklands. And there is a blood drive along Moy Avenue at the Memorial Park being coordinated by the Ministry of Health and supported by the Kenya Red Cross. If you're in Kisumu and Mombasa, you can also donate blood. We'll give you the information as to where to go in just a moment.
And yes, we have a shot there of the State House, and everyone is waiting for word from there, but there is some confirmation from the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, and that is Nzioka Waita, who says that the President is currently chairing a National Security Council meeting, definitely getting the briefing from all relevant arms, and of course just before he briefs the nation as to where we are at the moment as the Commander-in-Chief. Everyone would want to hear from the President. It's good that he has updated us on that and what to expect. Yes, there are many unknowns and there is no official information on a number of things. In as far as the attack goes, the government has yet to share the information on the number of deaths. That's what many people are asking, and as well as the number of those injured. And just earlier we spoke to Charity Mwangi, who is at the Chiromo mortuary, and she said, at least by some of the sources that she has spoken to on the ground there, they say they put the number at 15 as the bodies that are at Chiromo mortuary connected to this attack, but we are yet to get the official and formal numbers from that. We also do not know the number of terrorists. There have been some accounts saying that there are 4. There's some clips that have shown 4 making way into the 14 Riverside Drive shopping complex and office park and hotels. And if any, we also don't know if any terrorists have been killed, and or if there are those who have made way and have left. We have seen some pictures that are circulating of perhaps those who have been killed, and that is the terrorists. There were some pictures that would clearly show, the CCTV footage that clearly show the identity of those who are behind the attack, the number being 4. And of course, the pictures that we are receiving, we have to verify before we could share any of them. And we also don't know how many are still trapped, and that is in terms of the victims, those who were within this complex. And it houses so many offices and even hotels, and you can imagine international guests. There was talk of those who were still in there and were about to have a conference, and perhaps this is one of the reasons this was a target, because the assailants would have wanted to get as many as they could in terms of those who they imagine would be there, but we'll get confirmation from there. So that is what we would want to know, you would want to know, but we don't have any official confirmations, but we are getting at least trying to corroborate this with our independent sources who are on the ground, and we have to definitely verify that. And yes, up until now, security forces have managed to rescue hundreds of people, at least that we know, from the Dusit complex since the terror attack late afternoon yesterday. Among the rescued are NTV journalist Silas Apollo and our cameraman Dixon Onyango. They were there for, I believe it was up to 12 hours at the Dusit Hotel, and actually they were actually on the adjacent office park that houses the CRA. They had gone there for a separate assignment, and at the time of this particular attack, and this is one of the accounts that we managed to get soon after they were rescued around 4 a.m.
NTV journalists Silas Apollo and Dixon Onyango were going about their daily activities at the Dusit complex along Riverside Drive. They were here on assignment, and a few minutes after they arrived, all hell broke loose. First, it was an explosion. Then gunshots rendered the air. In the confusion, they separated as they scampered for safety. They were to be rescued more than 12 hours later.
The last 12 hours you were in a washroom. How many people were you in that washroom?
There were those that had 7 people. There were those that had 5.
Okay.
And then, it was mixed gender and stuff, so it was quite uncomfortable. But, that is where our lives were. And, that's I think the safest we could have been in. Yeah.
Okay. We're glad to see you. Where you were, how many more people are remaining, or were they able to get everyone out?
They've been evacuating guys on each floor. So I think they started with the ground. I think our building was probably the last one, because it's been happening, I think, since 4 o'clock, I think, the rescue team started. So I think ours was the last one. So we were on the first floor. I think on first floor, I think everyone was evacuated, because then they would move from room to room looking for guys and stuff.
The horrific event started at about 3:30 p.m. when gunmen struck at the complex. So far, security forces have managed to rescue a number of people who are trapped inside.
I was with 8 guys. We were at some form of a conference center, conference room, sorry. So we stayed there for a while, and it was quite nerve-wracking, if I may say.
Relatives and friends of people in the complex camped outside as the area has been cordoned off. Their only mode of communication being exchange of text messages as they pray and hope for the best. The 14 Riverside Drive complex houses the 5-star Dusit D2 hotel and several offices. security forces who obtained a map of the building from its administrators before moving in also evacuated people trapped in adjacent buildings.
You'll be fine, huh?
The Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, also reported that by 8:30 p.m. last night, 6 of the 7 floors had been secured. Currently, several people are receiving treatment at MP Shah, Aga Khan, Kenyatta and Avenue hospitals. Most of them have shrapnel and gunshot wounds. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
So those images from Sharon Baranga's story, mostly coming to us from the situation that took place yesterday. Remember that this situation started at around 3 o'clock last afternoon, and it is now almost 10:15 this morning.
And we're glad that definitely our colleagues and others have been rescued from this ordeal, and we'll be getting a bit more information, but give them space and time to recover from this traumatic experience. And yes, there are some pictures circulating, but until we get the confirmation as to whether these were the ones, the men who were behind the attack, we will be able to give information and confirmation as to whether this has been neutralized, that is the attackers. But with the activity that's going on at least almost an hour ago, still some gunshots in the area, and even some residents and people who work around there talking about stray bullets being experienced. And if you can stay away from that area, it's for your own safety, because there's a lot of exchange so far, or rather an active situation still on the ground. And yes, as we earlier mentioned, we have been expecting a briefing from the President from State House, and we will be getting that as soon as possible. But that is going to have to be after the President gets a full brief, and he's having a briefing at the State House on the security situation right now.
All right, well, what we can bring you right now is the first-hand account from our colleague Silas Apollo, who was trapped inside Grosvenor building with our cameraman Dixon Onyango. It was a terrifying experience for him, as it was for everybody else. But let's listen in to his personal first-hand account.
Good morning, Silas.
Hey, morning, Ken. Hi.
It's been a long day for you. And where exactly have you been in the last 17 hours or so?
I don't know, it's just been a scary one, I think. It's one of those things that you only see in a movie.
Yes.
Until now you get entangled with the whole thing.
Yes.
So we were trapped, I think it was on the first floor. We were having some interview on third floor. So when the first explosion happened,
yes,
I think it was quite a big one, a big shock, almost the entire building.
Okay.
And then after that there were a bit of gunshots, and then there was a second explosion. I think the first one was a car bomb.
Okay.
And then the second one was more of, I think, a suicide bomb or something.
Yes.
And then after that, just sporadic gunshots and all that stuff. So, we had to scamper for safety.
Okay.
So it's been quite a long 12 hours.
I know, and you haven't eaten, and this is the first bottle of water that perhaps you're drinking this morning. But I just like to know, where exactly have you been for the 17 hours that you have been inside there?
Man, I was stuck inside a washroom, I think, with some few guys. It's been quite an interesting one. Of course, so when the whole thing happened, we had to look for safety, scamper for safety. Yeah. So the first option we had were just a few adjacent rooms that we had to go to, which were basically washrooms. So everyone had to fit in and find space and just get inside.
Okay.
So I think that's where we spent the last 12 hours. Of course.
The last 12 hours you were in a washroom. How many people were you in that washroom?
There were those that had 7 people. There were those that had 5.
Okay.
And then it was mixed gender and stuff, so it was quite uncomfortable. But that is where our lives were. And that's I think the safest we could have been in. Yeah.
Okay. We're glad to see you. Where you were, how many more people are remaining, or were they able to get everyone out?
They've been evacuating guys on each floor. So I think they started with the ground. I think our building was probably the last one, because it's been happening, I think, since 4 o'clock, I think. The rescue team started. So I think ours was the last one. So we were on the first floor. I think on first floor, I think everyone was evacuated.
All right, we've got to interrupt that interview between NTV's Ken Majungu and our very own Silas Apollo, who was holed up in the Grosvenor building there at number 14 Riverside Drive, to take you to the Chiromo mortuary where there is a press briefing. Let's listen in to who's speaking and what he's saying.
They're inside where they come from. Hiyo ni swala ambayo inaenda kwa serikali. Wanatuijia hapa nyumbani sisi kutuua wakati sisi tuko na uwezo ya kufuata wao mpaka kule kwao. Nafikiri labda kama kuna maswala nitajibu, but I have expressed my feelings and the feelings of my community. Thank you very much. Kuna maneno mengine?
Unaweza kutueleza the events that led to how you got to hear the news?
Yeah?
How did you get to hear the news, and what was your reaction in the events that followed?
My son. Huyu kijana wangu kabisa ambaye mnaona hapa. Nilikwambia mimi naitwa Yasin Jama. Huyu ni Mahamud Yasin Jama. Ndio anafanya katika hiyo ofisi nyewe. Huyu ndio amenipigia simu. Akaniambia baba kuna shida. What is wrong? Ngoja niruke, ameruka ameniambia nimesharuka, ametoka. Bahati nzuri niko naye, lakini nimepoteza wengine wawili ambao walikuwa wanafanya katika hiyo ofisi. Kwa hiyo nimepata ripoti kutoka kwa kijana yangu direct from the horse's mouth, ambaye yuko hapa na sisi wakati huo, ndio amenieleza hiyo maneno, ile kitendo ambayo ilitokea. How would you feel as a parent when your son tells you, I'm in the midst of terrorists? How would you feel? I felt the same thing that you would have felt as a parent. Kama mzazi, yale ambao wewe ungisikia na mimi nimesikia wakati mtoto amenipigia simu, ameniambia tuko katika hali mbaya sana baba. Na tumepoteza wakati huu wawili ambao tunaenda kuzika. Kwa hiyo ninasema tafadhalini wa Kenya, tukae macho, tukae pamoja, lakini tusitupiane lawama huko na huko. Sisi ni Waislamu wa ukweli, na dini ya Kiislamu hainiruhusu mimi kumwaga damu ya mtu, wala kuiba mali ya mtu, wala kuzulumu mtu. That is the real doctrine of Islam. Thank you very much. Pole sana. Pole sana.
Your son, how the situation was like?
Here he is, and he is capable of giving you the report direct. Mahamud. Hai. Kazi kwako sasa.
Habari yako?
Salama sana.
Tueleze nini kilitokea?
Tulikuwa ofisini, tunafanya kazi kama kawaida, Grosvenor building next to Dusit, kwa upande wa chini. Around 3:30, we had a loud explosion when we were just working normally. Then our head of security advised us to first of all lie down so they can determine where the fire is coming from. Once they determined where the fire was coming from, we were advised to use the back route, whereby the apartments behind the Dusit riverside. There's a small bridge where most of the people managed to escape from. So, however, when we all ran together through the back door onto Wayakiwe, then we started looking at our colleagues and where if anybody
can now confirm that as of about 1 hour ago, the security operation at Dusit complex is over and all the terrorists eliminated. As of this moment, we have confirmation that 14 innocent lives were lost through the hands of these murderous terrorists, with others injured. We are grieving as a country this morning, and my heart and that of every Kenyan goes out to the innocent men and women violated by senseless violence. We wish the injured quick recovery And as a nation, we will continue to pray for them. We are a country governed by laws, rules, and regulations. A country that embraces peaceful coexistence. We believe in these principles and values even in the face of adversity. But I must also state that we are also a nation that never forgets those who hurt our children. Even as we regret yesterday's incident, as Commander-in-Chief, I want to commend the quick and effective response by all our fighting teams for neutralizing all the terrorists involved in the attacks. We have dealt with the threat decisively and shown our enemies and the world that we as a country are ready to deal with any threat to our nation. I also take this opportunity to commend the civilians who looked after one another. For every act of evil that led to injury yesterday, there were dozens of acts of compassion, overflowing patriotism, and individual courage. Over 700 civilians from the compound at the start of the attack through the early hours of this morning. The operational priority of the security services was first and foremost to safeguard civilian life. They acted swiftly to contain the attackers and methodically evacuate those whose lives were at risk. Emergency crews on site and in hospitals have worked round the clock, and we commend them and their reflection of our compassionate, resilient character as a people. I also take note of the Kenyans who took to social media to encourage one another, to spread hope, and hold those distorting information to account. Kenyans showed the world the best part of us: brave, patriotic, loving, and unbowed. Fellow citizens, for the last few years, you have invested in our building a strong security system. It showed to great credit yesterday. But we also learned that we can never take anything for granted. In the coming days and weeks, we shall continue the never-ending work of strengthening our systems. From the means available to the security services and judicial arms, we will continue taking every step to make our nation inhospitable to terrorist groups and their networks. I thank our international partners who are showing solidarity in standing with us at this moment, as they always have. Even as we think of our own injuries, we must remember that dozens of countries are also under attack, and that we too must show solidarity in standing with them. This morning, I convened and chaired a meeting of our National Security Council, and I want to say this: we will seek out every person that was involved in the funding, planning, and execution of this heinous act. We will pursue relentlessly wherever they will be until they are held to account. Throughout the breadth of Kenya and in our immediate neighborhood, multiple security efforts are underway to detect, deter, disrupt, and defeat any terrorist operatives or groups. We are also on highest alert and shall remain so. I assure every Kenyan and our foreign visitors that you are safe in Kenya. Fellow citizens, we all have a duty in securing our country. Security is a joint responsibility between citizens and their government. We secure our families, communities, and our nation by building a seamless partnership. We should not allow these people any shelter among us. I urge you to make sure that you inform the police and any authority of any suspicious individuals or actions that you may notice in your day-to-day life. I thank all the leaders who have stood up and stated their strong support for our nation at this moment. And I urge all other leaders in every part of our country to condemn in no uncertain terms this evil and make sure to emphasize that it belongs outside our human community. As leaders, we should speak out strongly as we pursue the owners, facilitators, and sympathizers of these groups, knowing that they are an enemy and that we shall pursue and offer them no relief. Fellow Kenyans, we together are in the process of building a new Kenya that is prosperous, secure, and inclusive, and in which every Kenyan has an opportunity to thrive. We will allow no one to derail or frustrate our progress. No one in Kenya today or at any time should doubt our resolve. Our resolve to maintain security in our country, and in this, our determination is unswerving. We have prevailed and shall always prevail over evil. Let us now go back to work without fear and continue with our task of building our nation. May God bless you. May God bless Kenya. And may God give peace to those who have lost life and comfort to their families.
National briefing from the Commander-in-Chief, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, on the situation from the attack by the assailant. And top on his list of confirmations is that all the assailants, according to him, have been neutralized, and the operation as of 1 hour ago, the security operation is over. And this must have been as we were recording, going live actually with Kennedy Morathi, when there was a blast and the evacuation of one of the security officials. So according to the Commander-in-Chief, the President, the security operation is over. However, he does condole with the family there of 14 innocent lives that have been lost, and that is one of the numbers that people have been asking about. And 14 people have lost their lives as at now. The confirmations that not too far from what Charity Mwangi had told us from Chiromo Mortuary.
That's right, Mark. What we still don't know is how many people are still holed up in the building. Whilst the situation has been neutralized and it is all over, according to the president, we do believe that there are still civilians who are in the building who are yet to be evacuated. We don't know how many of them are still in there. We also don't know the exact number of terrorists. The president didn't clarify that, but word has it that it stands at around 6 or 7, but that is yet to be confirmed. The president also didn't speak about the number of casualties or the extent of injuries, but perhaps we will hear from various security agencies regarding that, or even the Red Cross Secretary General Abbas Goulet, who is on the ground with his teams aiding in this rescue and recovery operation. The president did say that his heart goes out to all the families affected and that he commends the quick and effective response by the various security agencies in neutralizing all the terrorists and in working with this rescue operation. He also said that the country will pursue the masterminds and all those involved in the planning and financing of this attack, and he also added that the country is on high alert, but he also assured Kenyans and visitors that we are safe.
And of course asking Kenyans to get back to work in the spirit of national building, and that he remains firmly confident that we will not be deterred from this stand of making or building a new Kenya. And yes, of course, giving commendation to the security officials who gave swift response after the attack yesterday afternoon, as well as civilians who gave a hand and supported many. We saw some armed civilians who've been commended by many Kenyans online for their quick response and support to the security officials, and the coordinated response as well from the different units of the security outfit in making sure that the situation was contained. There was no confirmation as well as to how many have been rescued, because as well that would have prompted the question of how many are still holed up, or how many haven't been rescued who had been or were believed to be in the confines of that 14 Riverside Drive office park, as well as the hotels and offices that are within that area. But these are things that, these are answers that we'll be getting a bit later. Just before the president started with his address, there was some family members who have gone to the Chiromo mortuary just to get word, because these are the questions that are still on Kenyans' minds, even though the commander-in-chief says that the operation was stopped or over an hour ago. Of course, it's still an active scene of crime, so this does not mean that you can access the area or the roads that are leading to that area. That is the Dusit D2 hotel, so stay clear of that area still as the operations there continue, because it is an active crime scene. But the families of those who are believed to have had relatives or friends who have been there or were there at that time of the attack still advised to access various points and use certain numbers just to get a hold of some of those who would be able to trace their people. And one of the areas there is the Chiromo mortuary. We had some very unfortunate and sad pictures there of those who had gotten confirmation of the loss of their loved ones, and there are a number who are still hospitalized. There were some successful surgeries yesterday night, and commendation also going to the hospital staff who worked round the clock to make sure that there was someone available to help anyone who was injured from this particular attack.
And Mark, while the situation has come under control at number 14 Riverside Drive, and it is quote unquote all over for the families and friends affected, this is just the beginning. The grieving process is starting, or has started, as we saw earlier some deeply disturbing and emotional pictures coming to us live from the Chiromo mortuary as families gathered there to find their loved ones, or with the hope of not finding their loved ones, hoping that perhaps they are alive and in a safe place. Charity Mwangi is following that, and the questions now certainly will come up about Kenya's security situation. How did we get to this point? What went wrong? What intelligence did we know? who didn't act, could we have acted better? And of course, security across the country is being beefed up. We are aware that some malls even closed for business yesterday as this incident took place, and no doubt malls across the country are reviewing their security operations and also hotels as well.
Yes, and even as we respect and appreciate this grieving period for the nation, the families that are affected and the friends that are affected, the answers will definitely be begging as to what the intentions were behind the attack in terms of the target and the intelligence that was out there right before. The president, of course, staying clear of that as they handle the situation, but they say they are pursuing those who supported, who planned and executed this, but confirming that the assailants, not giving the number, had been neutralized. Earlier I mentioned that those who might be heading to Chiromo mortuary, well, the Kenya Red Cross is saying that they've put up additional tracing and psychosocial teams there, and those searching for their loved ones may either check at the Chiromo hostels along the road to Dusit D2 Hotel or at the Chiromo mortuary. And the numbers again there to try and trace your loved one is 1199 or 0715 820-219. That is 1199 or 0715-820-219 in case you need the support of tracing loved ones. Yes, the news there that this operation is over in terms of the active engagement between the assailants and the security officials, but still a lot of uncertainty for the family members who haven't tracked their people. And yes, and those who are supporting still have a chance to help in terms of the blood drive, because yes, as much as we don't have the finer details of the number of those who've been injured, there have been people who've been injured, some seriously, and getting treatment, and they would be in need of blood.
That's right, and you can donate blood at these hospitals in the Parklands area. That is the Avenue Hospital, the MP Shah Hospital, and also the Aga Khan Hospital. There is also a blood drive taking place at the Memorial Park, that is the former bomb site along Moi Avenue. It is being conducted by the Ministry of Health and also supported by the Kenya Red Cross. And if you are in Mombasa, you can also donate blood, and if you are in Kisumu, you can as well. Here is the information. If you're in Mombasa, you can go and donate blood at the Regional Blood Transfusion Center, that is next to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. And if you are in Mombasa, you can donate blood at the Kenya Red Cross offices on Moi Avenue, opposite the University of Nairobi, Mombasa branch.
Anyone and everyone who's able to support, please do so. And the appeal to you at home or wherever you're watching us from, coming from the head of state, that the security is a collective or joint responsibility, and you should report any suspicion. I would suspect that the gentleman who gave his account of having come into contact with one of the assailants in terms of the days leading to this attack would be one of those who would be cross-examined just to give any more information as to what may have happened or what they would have been able to identify in terms of their movements and motions if they had other assistance in this particular process. There are reports as well as those who were involved in this attack were actually seen at some of the hotels having breakfast or what have you some days before, and this was actually an account by one of the staff members at the hotel there. So yes, the surveillance was done prior to this attack.
Right, at this point, let's cross over live to the Chiromo mortuary where NTV's Charity Mwangi has been on the ground this morning. It has been disturbing, Charity. What are you able to tell us at this point? Unfortunately, we don't have a Charity on the line at the moment, but we will connect with her as soon as we can. Let's just bring you some of the highlights from the President's press briefing. He spoke awoke at 10:20 a.m. That is about 19 hours after the attack took place. He says that I commend the civilians who looked after one another during the attack. The president confirmed that 14 innocent lives were lost, and he says that we wish the injured a quick recovery, and as a nation we will continue to pray for them. The president also took note of Kenyans who took to social media to spread hope and to criticize false information. He said that you have shown the world bravery, patriotism and love. And President Uhuru Kenyatta also said that we are a nation that never forgets those who hurt our children. We will pursue relentlessly those involved in the planning and execution of this attack. All right, at this point, we can now take you live to Charity Mwangi at the Chiromo mortuary. Charity, what's happening there?
Yeah, we are still here at the Chiromo mortuary, and the crowd is becoming larger here as more family and friends of those who are suspected to have been caught in the incident yesterday continue to stream in here, trying to get information as to whether their loved ones are among those who perished. The number still stands as we had earlier reported. According to unconfirmed reports, only 15 bodies have been brought here, although we have been able to witness hearses bringing bodies from different hospitals. So it seems as though this will be the centralized point as far as information on those who perished in the incident is concerned. We have been able to talk to some of the family members who have expressed their deepest sadness, and some of them who confess the Muslim faith are very, very hurt by the fact that this incident is associated to people who have such hard stance and some that incline into the religious faith. And so we are here and we continue to wait for the official information. We are yet to see any official member of this establishment who've come to give us information, although we have seen some members of the response teams, and we expect a report or an update from them anytime from now. Smriti.
All right, Charity, a very difficult time for all those involved, including those covering the event. Thanks very much for that update. We will cross over back to Charity Mwangi later on this morning, but the update from her is that the crowds are growing at the mortuary here in Nairobi as families head that way to try and identify their loved ones. The president confirmed that 14 people have died in this attack.
The numbers, at least she's getting from there, that is the Chiromo mortuary, according to those who have been delivered there from the hospitals, is 15, but we will get confirmation from there because the attention now will be moving to the Chiromo mortuary, and as she is confirming, many people are going there as we keep announcing the numbers and the process that you can follow to be able to trace your loved one in case you have not managed to since yesterday, and you are sure that they were there within the confines of that number 14 Riverside Drive confine. And yes, the numbers that you can see also that we'll show you is just in case you need to trace people and find the right procedure, because you can expect the numbers will increase around that area. That is the Chiromo mortuary. You could first call these numbers that we will be able to show you. That is 1199 or 0715 820 219 to get some information of how you can access and the support that you can get. The team there, that is the Red Cross, that is always one of the first to respond to such situations, and we commend their work as well, have set up additional tracing and psychosocial teams at Chiromo mortuary. Many who are in that area, just even witnessing what is happening, would need a lot of counseling, and there's available support there, and that is what you can expect when you get there. But there's a proper registration process, and as we can see, a lot of movement still at the Dusit D2 hotel area. This is actually the entrance, I believe, Smriti, to that area, and
yes,
this
right.
is all heavy security, you can see, and we can expect it. Some of the top officials officials that are making their way there.
That's right. We are led to believe that the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, and also the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, are making their way to the vicinity. There may be a press briefing, but Kennedy Mureithi is still on the ground, and he'll bring us up to date as and when we get the latest information. We haven't heard from any of the top government security personnel this morning as yet, have we, Mark?
No, we haven't, but they were, as you can expect, given the briefing that has just come from the Commander-in-Chief, their boss, were in a meeting at State House for a National Security Council meeting before he gave the briefing, of course being furnished with everything that they have to tell Kenyans, and as is procedure, perhaps just to confirm that indeed the security operation is over and the assailants have been neutralized, would want to show that they are on the ground themselves and it is safe enough to be there, at least just to confirm for themselves and give a briefing that all is well from that end. But still some concerns as to what we are getting in terms of if everyone has been rescued from that Dusit D2 hotel, as is the expectation. Sometimes people could be holed up in 1 or 2 rooms, but the confirmation that we had is that all the buildings there were secured as of last night. But until we get the last confirmation, at least even from the management there, that everyone has been rescued and there are no people there, that is when we can be at least confident to announce that people are either safely home or getting treatment, or unfortunately, preparations to be sent off for those who have passed on, and our condolences to the family.
Indeed. And the last time that we saw any sort of evacuation was, I believe, 1 this morning, and the rest overnight or in the wee hours of the morning at around 4 a.m. So since then, we haven't seen any evacuations. There was a little bit of drama earlier where it looked like a police officer had been injured and was being rushed out. But again, we can't clarify those details as they are still scanty. But what you're seeing on your screen is a lot of movement, especially towards the hotel complex. What we're looking at is I think that is the first entrance gate and the barrier to the hotel.
That's right.
And we will get more information as to what's happening. There are, as you can see, some people running in.
Yes, the support security, of course, as you can expect, of the Inspector General as well as the Interior Cabinet Secretary who are there.
And also, that is Kennedy Mureithi.
Gearing up to give us an update from what he has seen on the ground.
Right.
And yes, the heavy security there, deployment there, you can tell that one of the top officials, or 2 actually, it's the Inspector General and the Cabinet Secretary have arrived. And just a quick response here to one of the people who are commenting on our commentary here in terms of what we're talking about, the intelligence. Of course, there's always intelligence going around at such occasions, and these are the questions that are going out there, and we would be able to get the answers. But there has been commendation as to the swift response by the security officials, and they've been commended by Kenyans, commended by the president, and many are still saying thank you for the coordinated effort there. There was, of course, a good control of the situation, as we witnessed and as we covered this yesterday afternoon. And this is not to in any way to feed into conspiracies, but in any situation there is intelligence, and those are the questions that people start asking, even as we respect this process of grieving that the country is in right now. And we give our condolences to the families there. The questions have to be asked, and these are the answers that we will be getting, and confirmation that we'll be looking for from the security officials. Kennedy Mureithi is getting ready just to confirm what we see, who arrived, if perhaps he has any word on that, and what we can tell us a bit more.
Siski maswali.
The question, Kennedy, was, can you tell us a little bit more? All right, I believe Kennedy can't hear us, but let's hand over to him for an update.
into the complex a little while ago. This is just after President Uhuru Kenyatta announced that the siege is over 19 hours after it happened. And we do understand right now, it's been a while since we had the gunshots, but the indication that the government officials have come in and have been allowed into the 14 Riverside Drive complex, then it is an indication that yes, our soldiers have won, and yes, we are on course. President Uhuru Kenyatta has said that 14 people succumbed to what happened here yesterday and the better part of today. And what we just saw a while ago, before some photos surfaced on the social media of soldiers, of the assailants having been killed, we can't authenticate them, but we still want to believe that they are photos that came from the complex, and it is out of what our soldiers were trying to contain the situation. And we only saw one casualty, a police officer who was taken away to the hospital this morning in an ambulance, having been shot. But we do understand, or we do believe, and we do hope and pray that he is going to be okay. But we do understand, and we do expect that any time from now, after the officials, the government officials, whom we cannot independently say who they were, when they come out, they will be able to tell us what they have seen, what transpired, and how everything is. President Uhuru Kenyatta has already given his brief, but we will be expecting, probably, we do think that probably it might be the internal security minister, the interior security minister, that is Fred Matiang'i, who just came in, but that is just speculation. I believe that he might be the one, together with some of the security agencies' top officials. But that is what has been happening right now. The media, as I told you earlier, had been pushed away, and that is where we are at this particular point. All of us, both local and international media, and President Uhuru Kenyatta having set the record straight, as he has through his statement right now, the anxiety that was there has actually gone down. The speculation that was there has gone down, because we had also already seen some trying to put up figures that we do not know where they were coming from, but that is the correct figure that is coming. That is the correct figure that is coming from the government with regards to what happened and what transpired. There were about 6 officials, and already, as we had told you, we can also see more and more activity. I'll just move from where the camera is so that you can see there are so many security officials from all sides. I think also somebody's trying to get out from the complex. Probably we'll be expecting that they might be giving us information on what transpired. I can see the officers from the General Service Unit that are coming towards, and they're charging towards where we are at this particular point. I don't know whether they want to eject us from where they had already proposed that I don't know whether they're trying to get us from where they suggested that we should be, but also there is increased activity, and it involves the security agencies, and we do believe probably any time from now we will be getting an update from the scene. We will also be probably, I don't know whether the press conference by the president is also going to be preceded by that one by the Red Cross, who had already kept us here, and they were of the opinion that they are going to give us a press brief of what happened, probably who is in hospital, how are they recuperating, and all that. But that is what we have as of now, Mark and Smriti, is that there is heightened activity. There are government officials, the guns have gone silent, the explosions have gone silent, media is waiting. The security apparatus at this particular area are also heightened, and everybody is being asked just to be extremely vigilant, as we do not know what might happen next. But President Uhuru Kenyatta has categorically said that we have neutralized those that tried to tamper with our sovereignty as a country, and those are the terrorists who tried to test the country as of yesterday. And 19 hours later, he believes and he says Kenya has won through its security forces and the gallant support that has come from Kenyans themselves. Smriti and Mark Masai in studio.
Kennedy Moredi and Mr. Paul Basweti stand by there. Of course, we'll be taking over from our team that will be continuing with our coverage as we will be waiting to see indeed if there will be a briefing from those who've just made their way to the scene of attack. There was a very different picture yesterday when the attack took place. That was the very same entrance that the assailants who have been neutralized, as confirmed by the Commander-in-Chief. That's the same place that they entered, and now we can get confirmation from the scene of crime. Hopefully there will be an address now that the president has spoken, and the numbers that we know right now, we can go over that just before we wrap our session.
That's right. As we approach 11 o'clock, 20 hours or so after the attack, or before we bring you those highlights, we need to cross over live to the Chiromo mortuary. Let's listen in to what's happening there first.
Yeah.
Can you describe your colleague?
Oh, he was a very jovial guy. I think he even had a YouTube page. He's a very jovial guy, yeah. And he was actually, I don't know, he just passed away. Yeah.
And the family is aware.
Yeah.
So you've been able to identify the person here?
We are still waiting to identify, but we are here because it's confirmed that he passed away.
And maybe in that process, do you know any other colleagues who might have succumbed to the attack?
No, all other of our staff were able to come out safely. But the other companies that we share floors with, we share the building with, I don't know about them. Yeah.
At the moment where you are waiting for help, how was the situation like?
It was bad. It was bad. You can imagine someone breaking down the doors that you think are protecting you, and you hid under your desk. I mean, if they just look like that, they could just see your feet and they just kill you. So it was very traumatizing. It was very hard, but we thank God for the people who really responded, because help really came fast. I mean, those people didn't have time to get to us, and we really thank God for them. Yeah. Thank you.
What will be the scene of a lot of attention now, as people will be seeking the numbers, at least their relatives, to find out if they are there, or perhaps they could be traced at one of the hospitals, one of the 3 hospitals that have been very active, actually 4, Aga Khan, the hospital, the MP Shah Hospital, as well, and the Kenyatta National Hospital have been very active in this particular response to the attack, and have been working around the clock, and even Avenue Hospital. And the appeal for you to donate blood is still on, and you can do so even at this moment. There are various stations that you can go to, and there are numbers that we can also show you that you can use to trace your people, or at least get some leads on how to get to trace your loved one or friend.
All right, a highlight from that lady who spoke, saying, "We thank God help really came fast." So acknowledging the effective and fast work from the rescue and recovery teams. President Uhuru Kenyatta also commended the quick response. As we leave you now and hand over to the Swahili team, that is Jane Ngoiri and also Salim Swale, we leave you with the facts that President Uhuru Kenyatta has confirmed that 14 innocent lives were killed in the Riverside Drive attack, and all terrorists have been eliminated. It is 11 o'clock. Do continue with staying at NTV. Our coverage continues. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi.
Stay with us. I'm Masai.